Good evening and welcome to another meeting of Pacific Northwest Sculptors. This is our May 2021 meeting, and our guest tonight is Russell Ford. Russell is a retired art teacher from Vancouver, Washington. He's earned a lot of awards and recognition as an instructor, art teacher of the year, secondary level educator of the year. His work has appeared in the Aurora Gallery in Vancouver. He's been an artist in residence in Zambia. He's participated in Clark County Open Studios, shows at the Cave Gallery, the Vancouver Public Library, and the Oregon Society of Artists. Russ' work has a lot of imagination, and a lot of his personality comes through, as you will see. There's a lot of passion in this work. When this was originally recorded, we missed some of the beginning, so we're going to catch this a few minutes in. But let me introduce Russ Ford.
But here we are. Okay. So we'll come back and look at the kiln in just a minute, but I wanted to show you the latest work that I did is it's kind of like my whole isolation thing had to do with wanting to reach out through my own imagination to get into the world of how people actively communicate. So a few years ago, my wife and I took a coast trip down to Bolinas, where she used to live, and we were on the beach at Bolinas in the Bay Area. And I, at the base of the cliffs there, I found these incredibly cool rocks with holes in them. And I thought, I'm used to coming from the Northwest. I'm used to seeing volcanic rocks with holes in them, porous rocks, similar to this one. But these rocks looked like they were sandstone, but they had massive holes in them of all different shapes and sizes. This is a piece of regular basaltic rock. The stones that I was seeing, though, looked like they were carved into by marine animals. So I thought, so I collected a huge bag of them and brought them back. And I thought, I'm going to do something with those one of these days, like sculptors do. And so the pandemic allowed me the opportunity to sit with those rocks, put them in a little pile and say, oh yeah, I got a vision of what I want to do with that group and that group and that group. Well, all things considered, it was really a good idea, except that it took so friggin' long from the time that I created all these things with their little rock formations in their little vignettes to the time that I actually went to reassemble them to try to make them all make sense. And I realized I had no data except little messages on some of the rock that says this is supposed to go with that or the other thing. Anyway, it was a complete and total mess. So I spent the last month refining whatever rocks might work with those rocks that I did. So I wanted to show you the series because I'm happy with them because they're the first things that came out of the kiln. And the kiln does fire up the cone 10, and cone 10 is pretty special. What I love about cone 10 firing is that it has always a little metallic kind of a chino type of glaze, something that you just don't get with other types of glaze. This one has a really good example of that kind of shine. Chino is from shine.
Russell, are you putting the glaze on the rock as well, or just on the sculpture?
That's the first thing that I decided is I think I'm going to take one of these rocks and see how it survives the kiln at at 2,000 degrees. It didn't survive. It turned into a puddle. So it told me that whatever matrix holds the sandstone together, it wasn't going to stand for any temperature. So no, I had to separate the rocks from the creatures and then try to reassemble them later on. It's like if I'd have kept taking copious notes. Can you see that little sea creature in there, Dave? Isn't that the coolest thing?
Oh yeah.
I was so fascinated when I found these rocks looking inside of them that I couldn't help but think, I'm going to make a bunch of people who are as fascinated as I was. And these little things are little tiny little eggs of some such. So, the whole idea of finding things in nature and then trying to pair them up. I wanted to take a minute and talk about leaves, because leaves is something I've been working on sculpturally for a long time. And I started years and years ago. I made a little plastic cast plaster cast of a big leaf maple, which I'm extremely smitten by. Every fall that rolls around, I walk in the forest and I've seen these big leaf maples. I'm thinking, these are just the coolest things ever. So I thought I'd make a plaster mold. And out of the plaster mold came ceramic leaves and some paper mold experiments and whatnot. But I was never satisfied. They were always big. They were always clumsy. They were fragile. The tips would break off, yada, yada. So what I did was walking around this pandemic, looking at the leaves in the fall. I'd take the leaves home and I said, I had a brainstorm. I thought, what I want to do is make some paper clay, porcelain and paper in a blender, and smear it onto the back side of the leaves, and then layer it up like 10 layers, whatever it takes, and then put the whole thing in the kiln and burn it off. And that's what I did, and that's what this is. And it's strong. It's totally got the Shino look that I was hoping for and whatnot. And so this is the latest batch out. Makes me, but then I reattached the burnable after the firing. This little piece here was probably my first and biggest disaster, and hopefully the only disaster in the kiln. What I don't know if you know the artist David Hockney from California, but David's got a thing for swimming pools and this turquoise water and the whole beach scene, swimming pool scene. So I had this wild hair that I wanted to do something in David Hockney's honor. So I cooked up this scheme to make the pool, and I thought, I'm going to melt glass in there, and then I'm going to take this little critter, this woman, and she's going to be diving in, and just her wrists are going to be in the water, and then I'm going to have some rebar thing down in the glass that'll hold her up. Well, all that went to hell, because when I opened up the kiln, not only did her arms fall off and sink to the bottom of the swimming pool, but the glass went over the edge and down the kiln bricks, and basically it was a disaster. But I figured out how to make it work. She's got shorter arms than she should have. The piece is called. See if anybody in the older group can get the title, the joke in the title. The piece is called Esteroid. Because I was born in '48, and Esther Williams was a thing back then. And she's very much Esther Williamsy. Most people, when I tell that, they don't know what the hell I'm talking about. This little lady is, she's got a baby that's got a hole in it, and she herself has a hole. So the hole relates to the hole. And then I discovered the other day when I was looking through my photos, trying to send Chaz a PowerPoint here, is that I had a guy over here who was supposed to be leaning over her shoulder, also admiring the baby. And I couldn't figure out where the hell he went. So I made his own rock collection. And that's how that turned out. This is called the bath. I call this in the bath. And this cool little rock here has got a basin in it. And I swear to God, it's like two little faucet holes, which made me thinking about a bath and all the cool paintings from the Impressionist era about women and bathing and whatnot. And I thought, I'm going to give that a shot. So that was my little figurative. These guys are looking at each other through various holes, various devices. Holes and holes and holes and holes, and Swiss cheese people. This one here is called the Auger, found wood, and he's just drilling holes in an impossible scene. And this is that woman with the baby's husband, and he's traded her in evidently for his own rock pile. Oh, here's what I wanted to mention here. This, can you pan up there, Dave? Yeah. This is my fundraiser fish project that I am helping support the school that I taught at in Zambia when we do the open studios last year before they canceled it, and the year before that. I was able to, I challenged myself to make 50 fish, put them on the wall, and sell 50 fish and give all the proceeds to the school. and I put 50 fish on the wall, and most of them went away. These are some of the ones that didn't sell. So I'm thinking I'm going to do it again this year, and put some more fish on the wall, and raise some more money for that school. It's the coolest thing ever. The school functions with white kids who come in and take art classes to supplement their education in this black studio. And then the white kids can basically, they support it enough to be able to have the poor kids from the community come in on the weekends and take classes as well. So it's sort of like undoing apartheid in a way. And these are two commission pieces that I got from people who said, "Oh, I don't like those fish, but could you make me a yellow eye bass and a sable fish?" So, anyways, I've got a guy who's hopefully going to come and collect those, and I've just decided every fish that I make is going to go to support my little project. These are planters. Trip to Mexico a few years ago had me thinking about architecture and old Spanish architecture and all the wonderful ways to goober with cement that the Mexicans have figured out. So again, I wanted to do a little honoring of artists. This is it's like a French piece. The design was supposed to have a French skyline in the background, and that was kind of a kiln disaster, but it turned into a melted something or other in the background. And anyway, these ladies are off. This is our home. This is our 610 where we live. Our house doesn't really look like that, but in our imaginations, it does. More Spanish architecture, Spanish architecture. This is one of the coolest houses, a little village we stayed in Mexico. It had these massive arches in top and bottom floor, and just got me going in that direction and having fun with ceramics. And this is my homage to Edward Hopper. The New York sky scene is skylight sky scene is in the background, and we're being little voyeurs into Hopper's world, watching people having a moment out on their deck. All right.
So why don't you tell them about your studio and the shared space with your neighbor?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, thanks, Dave. This is I don't know if you can see through the grapevine here. It says Shakedown Street. That is my neighbor's property, and that is a kiln shed that he built because he always wanted a pottery shed in the back of his property. And one day he asked me, he said, what if we broke all the rules and I put the shed right on the property line and we put a door into it from your side so you can use it whenever you want? And I thought, oh my God, that is like the best solution ever, because if you worked with clay, you cannot mix it with a lot of other media, and it's good to have your own space. So so this is mine, and just so happens this is my property, and this is his property. I've got a little extension cord, so I'm not using his electricity, but that's my studio, indoor studio, and that's where I hibernate in the wintertime.
No, we can't go in there because of the cell service.
Yeah, and as luck would have it, the cell service cuts out right at the door of my studio. So as soon as I'm in there, I can't receive phone calls. I'm not responsible, happily so. And I come back here. I wanted to. Can you focus in on this plate, Davis? This is a little project that my sister-in-law from Montreal came out. She had us all do slab construction, easy breezy. Put a piece of 3/4 of wood down on clay on top of it, and then slap it down. So it's easy breezy construction. And then we took Columbia and Lewis River clay from the banks of the river, and we sprinkled that on the top along with one ingredient glaze, which was nepheline cyanide, and then we put wood ash all over it. So the green in this thing is wood ash. The browns are different colors of clay from the Columbia River, and then the clear is just the one glaze one ingredient glaze that we used for that project. The thing I love about this thing, it's stronger than hell. I dropped it on the ground once and it bounced. And this got me thinking about cone 10. Cone 10 is a miracle temperature, 2,300 degrees, where clay becomes stone. Really, the hotter the temperature is, the more strength you have in the clay. So you go to much higher than that. Now you're talking about spaceware that can survive even hotter temperatures. But volcanic vents are the same temperature as what we try to get to when we try to go to cone 10 at 2,300 degrees. So there is one kiln in the world that does that, I think, better than any other, because, and I've researched it only because we were gifted with a kiln through fundraising and whatnot. We put it together, but we were gifted with the kiln at the high school that I used to teach in, and it was a Bailey downdraft kiln, and it was a Bailey gas downdraft kiln. And I thought, okay, I'll take it. And it changed my whole way of teaching ceramics and sculpture, and it allowed us to go up to temperatures that we weren't able to do before, and experiment with glazes like we couldn't do before. So this is that kiln. Only the one that I bought has got some newer features. It's a shuttle cart. And it's a large capacity, which means you can go floor to ceiling. It's over 5 feet. So it's a sweet machine, and it climbs up to 2,300 degrees in a little less than 6 hours, which is kind of amazing. And it is relatively cheap to run, and the only thing that I have to deal with is my own guilt feelings about plugging into a carbon-based art form at the time when the planet is suffering. But I'm thinking, well, if you're going to burn some gas, this is a good way to do it. But it also means that I feel really responsible for everything that goes in and comes out of that kiln, to make sure that it's well thought out, that it's crafted as well as it can be. And so my next plan, my big goal, is to turn this outdoor space here into a workshop area. So this weekend I have 5 people coming over, and we're going to do a little fish workshop and a little 4-hour workshop, and initiate the space. But then after that, the whole reason that I got this kiln, in spite of the fact that my wife says, this is a really bad idea, Russell, we don't want to spend that kind of money at this time in our lives for something that you may or may not be able to get a lot of use out of. And I thought, but. And then this went on for like 3 or 4 months. My wife and I were kind of at odds with each other, yada, yada. And then when it came decision time, I got a check from my mother, who died within the last year. I got a check that I wasn't expecting for an inheritance that exactly covered the price of the kiln. I thought, Mom, thank you. She was the one who kind of guided me into art in the first place, and so anyways, I think of her when I fired this kiln. In fact, I have some of my mom's ashes, and I sprinkle it on some of my sculptures, just to make sure that she's still in the loop.
Can you talk about glazing, and do you have ideas for the glaze at the beginning? It always seems to me like it's 2 completely different art forms. First to create the sculpture itself, and then to determine the glaze and the color or texture.
Yeah, it's like patina, only what you guys work with putting patina on things and powder coating and whatnot. Only it involves so much chemistry that it just makes my head swim. So when I made that plate that got me going towards cone 10, I also was impressed by the fact that there was very few ingredients in the glaze. And so I keep my glazes very simple. I'm pretty satisfied at this point with a Shino glaze, which is really common Japanese glaze. And I can pretty much get the glaze that I'm looking for with a combination of that and river clay, which I'm very excited to work with. So I keep it simple. I'm never going to become a chemist, and happily so. And so I'm thinking I got to learn to be satisfied with knowing what I can do and what I can't do. Thank you, Jennifer. It's always tricky. And you can spend a lot of time working on a sculpture and say, oh, I screwed up the glaze. I never should have done that. It's so sweet when it works, because one of the things that the kiln does is it really forces you to have to let go. You cannot, it's at some point you put your piece on the altar, and it either is accepted by the gods or it's not, and that's the way it goes. I like that chance equality, but I also have suffered a lot, and I spend an exorbitant amount on epoxy and industrial strength glue to get things back together again sometimes, but I love the process. Anyways, I wanted to say I so appreciate the sculpture group, though I'm new to it. And the first couple of meetings I went to, I thought, oh, everybody knows so much about this stuff. You're all like experienced sculptors, been doing this for a long time, and I'm just a new kid on the block, and what do I know? And since I've been with the group, I thought, yeah, you are just a bunch of stuffed shirts. No, I'm kidding. I've been so impressed by what a variety of people are drawn to sculpture, and how everybody's in a different place. And it's really, really okay that we're exploring from where we explore from. We should all just take a nice deep breath and hold hands and do this together, because it's pretty cool being part of a group that it's unique. Not everybody gets 3D. A lot of people like to live in an illusionary 2D world only, but here we are.
Illusionary. You're doing great work.
Oh, well, it's fun work. Like I say, I think the pandemic every day. I'm thinking because it allowed me to say, okay, so why don't you stop saying I do sculptures to I am a sculptor. I said that the other day to someone. It was only the assistant in the dental office, but still, I tried it out on somebody. I just said, what do you do? I'm a sculptor, and it sounded okay.
Good.
But you're very, very prolific, and what I like is that you have an idea and you just go for it. So it seems like a lot of them are testing your ideas.
Yeah, that is what I love about clay, is it just invites you to, in 25 years in the classroom, I would say, okay, welcome to ceramics students, yada, yada, blah, blah, blah. And then I would walk over to a big block of clay, and I would start cutting little pieces off it and throwing it to every person in the room. All 30 kids had to receive a slung piece of clay from across the room from me, because as soon as they got it in their hands, they started doing stuff. And I thought, that's what it's all about. You can't
That's right.
run through the clay without just saying, I got an idea and I'm going to do it. Nobody just stopped you. We've been doing this for many thousands and thousands of years now. Anyways, again, I definitely want to thank the group for existing and for doing what you do. And I've just really been impressed with the people that I've met on Wednesday nights and whatnot. And yeah, and Dave wants to know if I want to be on the board, and the answer is no, I do. I do not.
He's a wise man.
Yeah. Anyways, any other questions? Out of time.
Thank you so much. I love your work. I look forward to meeting you in person.
Oh, it was a wonderful.
Likewise.
Wonderful.
Thank you very much, Russell.
You're welcome.
Seems like you've been a good teacher as well.
I never was that sage on the stage, but I was always there for the students.
Well, I want to share a story.
Yes.
It goes a little full circle. So Russell has been our neighbor for, well, we've been in this house for 23 years, and he had an idea to have this raccoon firing event at our park, our neighborhood park. And at this point, I was still working in the corporate world and not exploring art at all. And I joined this, and I created my first piece of art in probably decades with Russell. It was a mask, and it was horrible. My nose fell off the mask, and then I tried to recreate the nose, but it was just such a wonderful event. And soon after that, I found myself taking more art classes, and then actually never going back to my corporate job and just doing the art. So Russell's been a big influence.
Oh, that is the sweet thing about education is you never know who you're going to touch. You just got to show up to the game and play your best. You know, that's really fun. Thank you, Jennifer. Nice to hear.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks again, Russell.
You're welcome very much.
Thank you very much.
Guys, do you have anything else to close on? Or are we about closed up? If there's any more questions.
If we don't have any other questions, Russell, thank you for hosting us this evening. This was fun to see your work and your workspace. Thanks for sharing.